Picture a crowded room. It could be a weekend dinner with friends or a routine office meeting. People are chatting, laughter fills the air, and on the surface, everything feels perfectly fine. But then, for you, the scene shifts into slow motion. While everyone else is captivated by the loudest person in the room, your eyes lock onto something else. You notice a tense, white-knuckled grip hidden underneath the table. You catch a polite smile that flickers, but never actually reaches the eyes. You feel a sudden, silent shift in the room's energy, a heavy, suffocating awkwardness that lasts only a fraction of a second. Have you ever stood right in the middle of a crowd and instantly felt an unspoken tension, while everyone around you just keeps smiling, completely oblivious? It is as if you are standing in front of a flawless wall, and you are the only one in the entire world who can see the cracks. And what happens when you try to point out those cracks? When you gather the courage to pull a friend aside and ask if they notice the tension, the response you get is almost always a dismissal. People tell you that you are just being too sensitive. They say you are overthinking it. They insist everything was perfectly fine, and that you are simply imagining things. Hearing this time and time again takes a heavy toll on you. It plants a quiet, painful seed of doubt in your own mind. You begin to question your own reality. You replay the entire interaction in your head, wondering if maybe you are making a big deal out of nothing. You start to ask yourself if your brain is just desperately looking for problems where none exist. But let us set the record straight right now. The answer is no. Picking up on these microscopic details is not a sign of paranoia. It is not a flaw in your personality. You are not making things up. You are actually processing real, invisible data that the people around you are simply not equipped to perceive. So, if you are not just overthinking, what exactly is happening? What is this unique lens you are using to view the world? Science explains this sharp ability through three distinct mechanisms. The first mechanism is your ability to read micro-expressions. Human faces are incredibly complex. When someone tries to hide how they truly feel, their real emotion often flashes across their face for just 1/25th of a second. Before their conscious brain can step in and put the polite mask back on, the truth slips out. Most people in the room will completely miss this tiny glitch. But your nervous system operates differently. It acts like a high-speed camera. It captures that fleeting shadow of anger, sadness, or disgust, and processes it instantly. But why is your internal camera so incredibly fast? This brings us to the second mechanism, known in psychology as sensory processing sensitivity. Research shows that roughly 15 to 20% of the population is simply born with a wider neurological bandwidth. If the average human brain is a standard radio antenna, your brain is a massive, highly sensitive satellite dish. You do not just take in surface-level information. While others just hear the words being spoken, you are simultaneously analyzing the slight change in their breathing, the shift in their posture, and the heavy pauses between their sentences. You naturally process social data on a much deeper level, catching the hidden layers of meaning that the average brain automatically filters out. However, genetics is usually only half of the story. For many people, this sharp, almost psychic intuition was not just inherited. It was built out of necessity. This leads us to the third mechanism, hyper-vigilance. Often, this intense environmental awareness is forged during early childhood. If you grew up in an unpredictable or emotionally volatile home, you likely had to learn how to constantly read the moods of the adults around you just to stay out of trouble or to feel safe. You had to learn how to predict an emotional storm long before the first drop of rain ever fell. To protect you, your young brain adapted. It developed a powerful survival mechanism, turning into a highly tuned radar that constantly scans the room for any sign of shifting energy, hidden tension, or unspoken conflict. And the most exhausting part of it all? This survival radar does not have an off switch. Because this radar is always spinning, you are constantly picking up invisible fragments of data from the people around you. These are the subtle clues that others simply walk right past. The first major sign of this trait is your profound ability to hear the silence. While most people focus entirely on the words coming out of a person's mouth, your brain is paying close attention to the blank spaces in between. You do not evaluate people based on what they loudly declare. You evaluate them based on what they actively choose not to say. Think about how you read a simple text message. A friend might send you a reply that seems completely normal to anyone else, but you instantly notice that they used a period at the end of a sentence when they usually do not. Or they used a slightly different word choice. Or they took 10 minutes longer to reply than they typically do. To someone else, it is just a casual message. To you, it is a glaring red flag that something is emotionally off, long before they ever admit it. Or picture a group conversation. Someone makes a joke, and everyone laughs. But you notice the laughter fades just a tiny bit too quickly. There is an extra 2 seconds of heavy, awkward silence before the next person speaks. In those 2 seconds, you can feel the exact moment the atmosphere in the room shifts, even though nobody has said a single word about it. You hear the unspoken discomfort screaming at you, clear as day. You are reading the negative space of human interaction. This brings us to the second major sign, and this is where your ability becomes physically exhausting. You experience a deep physiological empathy. You are not mysteriously reading minds or absorbing some vague, mystical energy. What is happening is purely scientific. Your brain is processing a massive amount of visual and auditory data so incredibly fast that it bypasses your conscious thought. It immediately creates a direct physical reaction in your own body. Imagine walking into an office break room right after 2 of your co-workers have had a quiet but intense argument. They are no longer fighting. In fact, they are pretending to look at their phones, acting as if everything is completely normal. But the exact moment you cross the doorway, your chest suddenly feels incredibly heavy. Your breathing gets a little shallower. Why does this happen? Because in the fraction of a second it took you to step into that room, your subconscious brain already scanned the environment and collected a mountain of physical evidence. It noticed the defensive way their arms were crossed tightly over their chests. It picked up on their shallow, rapid breathing. It registered the rigid tension in their shoulders and the unnatural absence of their usual morning jokes. Before you even have the time to form a logical thought about the situation, your nervous system has already translated all of that external data into real internal physical tension. Your body is quite literally feeling the data that your eyes just collected. Because your brain is constantly absorbing all this heavy physical and emotional data, it leads directly to the third major sign. You become an involuntary time traveler. You are constantly projecting into the future. Your mind is like a powerful supercomputer that never stops running simulations. It takes all of those tiny, seemingly disconnected puzzle pieces you just picked up, and it instantly snaps them together to show you the bigger picture. You see the outcome long before anyone else even realizes a process has started. Let us look at a standard work meeting as an example. Your manager is handing out a new assignment to a coworker. To the rest of the room, it is just a normal Tuesday morning update. But you happen to notice the very slight furrow of your coworker's brow. You catch a sharp, short exhale through their nose. You notice how they unconsciously shift their weight back in their chair. In that split second, Your brain fast-forwards the tape. You instantly predict the unspoken resentment that will build up over the next few days. You can already see the inevitable conflict that will break out in the middle of the project next week. You are mentally bracing yourself for an impact that is still days away. And this creates a very difficult reality for you. Because you can clearly see the crash coming long before the car has even swerved, you carry a constant, quiet sense of anxiety. To the rest of the world, you just look like someone who worries far too much about things that have not even happened yet. They tell you to just relax. But you know the painful truth. You are not worrying about nothing. You are simply reading the undeniable trajectory of the data. Living constantly ahead of the curve, carrying the weight of all these unspoken truths, eventually leads to an inevitable consequence. You suffer from a quiet, invisible emotional burnout. Living with a radar that never powers down is utterly exhausting. Because you see the hidden conflicts, you often feel incredibly obligated to manage them. You end up acting as the emotional filter for your environment. You find yourself constantly adjusting your own behavior. You soften your tone, you change the subject, or you crack a gentle joke, all just to diffuse a silent bomb that no one else even knows is ticking. You work tirelessly to keep the peace, and this endless emotional labor drains your energy completely. But the physical exhaustion is not even the hardest part. The hardest part is the painful paradox of your reality. The heartbreaking truth is this: the person who sees everyone else so clearly is almost always the person who remains entirely unseen. You are the friend who always knows exactly when someone needs a hug, even if they swear they are perfectly fine. You reach out because you saw the cracks. But when your own walls start crumbling, when you are the one quietly suffocating under the weight of your own struggles, the room usually stays silent. No one steps in to comfort you. It is not because the people around you do not care. It is simply because they do not possess your radar. They are waiting for you to say it out loud, to explicitly ask for help. But because you are so used to speaking the silent language of emotions, you naturally expect them to just know. This creates a profound asymmetry in your relationships. You give a massive amount of deep, unspoken understanding, but you receive very little of it in return. And that is exactly why you can stand in a room full of people who truly love you and still feel completely, devastatingly alone. That feeling of isolation is profoundly real, but it does not diminish the value of what you possess. Seeing what others do not see is an incredible gift, even if it often carries the heavy weight of a curse. It is the ultimate proof of your emotional depth. It is a powerful testament to your genuine kindness and your vast capacity to care for the human beings around you. You do not need to fix yourself. You do not need to figure out a way to shut your radar down. Instead, your journey is about learning how to master it by setting firm emotional boundaries. You must learn to carefully recognize which unspoken moments actually require your intervention, and which moments simply require you to step back. You do not have to absorb every drop of sadness in the room. Sometimes, you just need to quietly observe, let the tension exist without trying to fix it, and actively choose to protect your own internal peace. When was the last time you noticed a hidden detail that everyone else completely walked right past? How did that exact moment make you feel? Please share your story in the comments below, because here you are always seen and you are always heard.